The roar of diesel engines shattered the morning calm on my street at 7 a.m. A sound not entirely unfamiliar in our seaside town. But what was unfamiliar was the sight of two hulking tow trucks lumbering into my driveway. Their drivers already lowering chains and with lifts like they own the place. I set my steaming coffee mug on the counter, still in my Navy veteran hoodie, and strode outside, my boots crunching on the gravel. 3 men were circling my covered patrol vessel, eyeing it like sharks sizing up a meal. "Morning, gentlemen," I said, keeping my tone even, though irritation prickled my spine. "Care to explain what you're doing on my property?" The lead driver, a stocky guy in oil-stained overalls, didn't even look up. "Got a work order from the HOA to tow this abandoned boat. Says it's been sitting here over 30 days. No movement." I nearly choked on the absurdity. Abandoned? The vessel under that custom marine cover was a 32-foot Navy patrol boat, assigned to me for routine maintenance and inspection. It had been in my driveway for exactly 10 days, and every bolt, every wire, was property of the United States Navy. "I'd recommend you stop right there and leave," I said, pulling out my phone. "That boat belongs to the U.S. Navy, and I've got the paperwork to prove it." The driver shrugged, unimpressed. "Take it up with the HOA boss," she says. It goes. That's when I started recording and dialed a number I'd hoped to avoid using. Within minutes, for black SUVs with government plates screeched around the corner, and those tow truck drivers suddenly looked like they'd swallowed their chewing tobacco. "My name is Ethan Caldwell, and I've been a Navy officer for 12 years. 8 months ago, I moved into this tranquil neighborhood in Harbor Cove, lured by its waterfront charm and what I thought was a tight-knit community. What I didn't know was that for months before I arrived, the neighborhood had crowned a new HOA president, Deborah Langley, a woman who treated her title like a scepter, wielding it to control every mailbox, lawn gnome, and driveway within a 6-block radius. The trouble kicked off the day I brought the patrol boat home. As part of my role overseeing fleet maintenance for the district, I occasionally stored vessels at approved locations for inspections and minor repairs. My property had been cleared by the Navy, complete with security protocols and federal authorization. I'd gone out of my way to meet neighbors, explaining the boat's purpose and assuring them it was temporary. Most were thrilled. The Thompsons across the street brought their kids to snap photos. Old Mrs. Callahan, a retired Coast Guard auxiliary member, asked if she could touch the hull for good luck, but Deborah Langley saw it as a personal affront to her vision of suburban perfection and eyesore she hadn't signed off on. The first notice showed up on my door 2 days after the boat arrived. Printed in papyrus font and laminated for no discernible reason, it declared my vessel in violation of HOA rules on recreational vehicles, watercraft, and commercial equipment. I responded calmly, sending Deborah copies of my federal authorization explaining that this was Navy property, not a recreational toy, and that federal law trumped HOA bylaws. Her reply came via certified mail the next morning. She didn't care about my fancy government papers and insisted HOA rules reign supreme in Harbor Cove. She clearly never encountered the supremacy clause, but I kept my cool. I invited her to inspect the boat, see the Navy markings, and review the documentation. She showed up the next evening with 3 board members, clutching a clipboard and sporting an expression so smug it could have curdled milk. She was textbook, late 40s, with a bob cut that probably cost more than my monthly maintenance budget, and a blazer that screamed I need to see the manager. "Mr. Caldwell," she said, spitting my name like it was sour candy. "I don't care if this boat belongs to the president himself. It's an eyesore. It's tanky property values, and it's got to go." I gave her the full tour, pointing out the Navy insignia, registration numbers, and federal placards. I showed her the maintenance log, security measures, and the letter from my commanding officer. She snapped photos not to learn, but to build her case. "This is obviously a commercial vehicle," she declared, ignoring the U.S. Navy emblazoned on the side. "And that cover isn't HOA approved. It should be navy blue or hunter green, not gray. It's a military-grade cover," I said, keeping my patience. "It protects sensitive equipment, then store it at a military base, not our pristine neighborhood," she snapped. "You got 7 days to move it, or we'll fine you $75 a day. Ma'am, you can't fine me for maintaining federal property I'm authorized to store. This boat protects these waters. It's your Navy's boat," she scoffed. "The HOA protects this community. Mr. Caldwell, not your little sailor club. 7 days. I contacted our legal office immediately. They confirmed I was in the clear and offered to send an official letter to the HOA. I thought that would settle it. But Deborah Langley's blend of stubbornness and cluelessness was a force of nature. The fine started on day 775 daily. As threatened, then she got inventive. I was suddenly violating noise ordinances, though the boat was silent. My driveway was over the allowed vehicle coverage, despite this being federal property. The boat's height breached aesthetic guidelines she clearly fabricated. By week 2, she claimed I owed $3,000. She mailed notices to every neighbor, trying to rally them against me, and posted on the community Facebook page. Do we want Harbor Cove looking like a shipyard? And commercial vehicles ruin our charm. Most neighbors weren't buying it. The Thompsons offered to testify for me. Mrs. Callahan wrote a scathing letter to the board. But Deborah controlled the whole board like a dictator, stacking it with loyalists and setting the agenda. She called a special meeting to tackle the boat issue. I showed up with a binder of documents and Lieutenant Commander Sarah Mitchell, a Navy legal officer with zero tolerance for nonsense. Sarah took the floor during public comments, her voice cutting through the room. Ladies and gentlemen, Petty Officer Caldwell is maintaining a Navy vessel under federal authorization. This isn't an HOA matter, interfering with his duties, or the vessel is a federal offense. I urge you to cancel all fines and stop this harassment now. Deborah's face flushed crimson. This is a community matter, she barked. You have no jurisdiction here. Sarah didn't flinch. Ma'am, I represent the United States government. Your whole rules don't override federal law. Proceed, and you'll face the consequences. The meeting erupted. Deborah's allies backed her, claiming the HOA's right to uphold standards. A few neighbors tried to argue the legal risks, but Deborah silenced them with threats of fines for disorderly conduct. She ran through a resolution labeling the boat a nuisance and authorizing its removal by any means necessary. When I objected, she smirked. Whole rules trump all, Mr. Caldwell. You'll see. That was Wednesday. By Monday, I returned from a base inspection to find my driveway empty. The boat was gone, cover and all. The wheel chocks lay scattered on my lawn. My security cameras were spray painted over. But the Thompson's camera caught Deborah directing to tow trucks at 5:30 a.m., taking selfies as the boat was hauled away. She crossed a line into federal crime territory. I called the Navy Investigative Service, reporting the theft of a vessel with classified radar and communication gear. The response was swift. The base commander got involved within an hour. Federal agents were deployed within 2. The boat was found at a tow yard 20 miles away, dumped in a corner with a note to bill the HOA. The yard owner, spooked by the agents, handed over Deborah's signed work order and an HOA's payment receipt. Agents secured the boat, documenting damage, while another team raided the HOA office. They found Deborah surrounded by her victory photos. Deborah Langley, an agent asked. She nodded, stunned. You're under investigation for theft of government property, interference with Navy operations, and misuse of HOA funds. You have the right to remain silent. She tried to argue. I was protecting our community. That boat was an eyesore. The agent held up my documents. You were warned. We have video of you stealing a vessel with classified equipment. Get a lawyer. The investigation uncovered Deborah's misuse of $10,000 in HOA funds for the tow money meant for park upkeep. She'd issued fines without board approval, pocketed some, and intimidated residents. The boat's inspection revealed damaged radar systems and communication devices. Escalating charges to destruction of federal property. Repairs cost $50,000, plus the loss of compromised gear. The HOA board, without Deborah, held an emergency meeting, revoked my fines, apologized, and cooperated with investigators. Several members resigned, admitting Deborah's bullying. The community Facebook page lit up with stories of her tyranny and her arraignment. Deborah insisted HOA rules gave her authority. The judge, a former Marine, wasn't impressed. She faced charges of theft, destruction of assets, interference, and fraud. Her plea deal, 20 months in prison, $35,000 in restitution, and 7 years probation. Banned from HOA roles. She collapsed in court, muttering about community standards. The judge's parting shot. Your HOA isn't above the law. Ms. Langley. The Navy issued a statement thanking me and warning against interfering with military property. Deborah's real estate business tanked. Harbor Cove is calmer now, and I store boats at the base. Neighbors still stop by, grinning. You took her down, Ethan. I just smiled, knowing justice and the Navy prevailed.